Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu, go to Bengal and, without restriction, manifest devotional service to the Lord Krishna consciousness. I'll read it again. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu, go to Bengal and, without restriction, manifest devotional service to the Lord Krishna consciousness. It's a long purport, and it's all about Lord Nityananda. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus ordered Nityananda to deliver all the Bengalis to devotional service. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.32, the Lord says, Mam hi parta vyayasritya ye pisu papayonayaha striyo vaishyas tata sudras te piyanti param gatim. O son of Prita, those who take shelter of me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, Sudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. Whoever takes to Krishna consciousness and follows the regulative principles can return home, back to Godhead. So now there's a nice lengthy description about some of the opinions of Lord Nityananda that are being presented and destroyed. In his Anubhasya, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes, there is a class of so-called Prakrita Sahajas who think that Lord Nityananda is an ordinary human being. They have spread the news that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Lord Nityananda Prabhu to return to Bengal from Orissa just to marry and beget children. This is certainly a great offense against Nityananda Prabhu. Such an offense is called Prashandi Buddhi, or an atheistic remark. Offenders consider Nityananda Prabhu to be like one of them and an ordinary human being. They do not know of Nityananda's identity with the Vishnu Tattva. Thinking Nityananda to be an ordinary human being is the business of mental speculators known as Kunapatma Vadis. These people accept the material body, which is a bag of three material elements, Kunadape Tridatuke, as themselves. They think that Nityananda's body was similarly material and that it was meant for sense gratification. Whoever thinks in this way is a candidate for the darkest regions of hell. Those who hanker after women and money, who are self-interested and have the mentality of merchants, can certainly discover many things with their fertile brain and speak against the authorized revealed scriptures. They also engage in some money-making business to cheat innocent people, and they try to support their business program by making such offensive statements. Actually, Nityananda Prabhu, being the expansion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is the most munificent person. No one should consider him an ordinary human being or an entity like Prajapatis, who are ordered by Brahma to increase generations. Nityananda Prabhu should not be considered instrumental for sense gratification. Although professional so-called preachers support this idea, such statements are not found in any authorized revealed scripture. Actually, there is no support for these statements made by the Sahajas or other professional distributors of Krishna Bhakti. Om Gyan Timirandasya Girajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya Desatarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Pebacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrind Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is giving an order to Lord Nityananda, who is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to preach. And he says, without restriction. That's a key word in this particular verse. In other words, don't discriminate. Namo Mahavedanaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gauda Triste Namaha. The most magnanimous, merciful incarnation of the Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has what we say, a strong, you might say, strong desire to make the whole world Krishna conscious. Therefore, he says, do not discriminate. That means whoever is willing to receive, that should be a candidate for Krishna's mercy. Whether they're unqualified or not, the qualification comes simply by the mercy of the Lord. So, in distributing Srila Prabhupada's mercy to the conditioned souls, it is our responsibility to understand what we're doing out there. Not only do the work of giving the mercy of the books. What are these books? They're actually Jai CC, not CC, but Jai Maharaj. We have a special personal relationship, so sometimes we get into other terminologies here. Thank you for coming. We shouldn't. Therefore, these books are not really books. That's the name we use to describe what they are categorized as. But what they really are is they're messages from the spiritual world for the conditioned souls to solve all of their problems. Srila Prabhupada said, we are meant to represent the spiritual integrity of this mission by distributing these books in such a way that they can understand that this knowledge actually is what they're looking for. What is about this knowledge that is so important? It's a Purusharth. It's not coming from any man-made personality. You might say, well, Srila Prabhupada wrote these books, but even Prabhupada threw that out when he would read his books sometimes. Sometimes he would gather his disciples in the evening. Sometimes in Los Angeles and other places he would be. And he would just say, give me a Krishna book. He liked Krishna, to read Krishna book. And then he would read. And then he would laugh. When Krishna killed the demon, he would laugh. And devotees were a little bewildered. Prabhupada's reading his own books and laughing, But Prabhupada caught on and he said, these are not my words. These words are actually coming from Krishna himself. He's speaking and I'm writing, that's all. So the transparent biomedia, the pure devotee spiritual master, in this case Srila Prabhupada, is the emissary for giving this knowledge to the world. And he's asking us to, in whatever way we can, to assist him in the same mission. Prabhupada said, distribute my books. He made a comparison. He said in the war, that when the war is at a feverish pitch, the planes just drop unlimited amounts of bombs upon the enemy. And then he said, we should also, like in the same way, we are in a war against the ignorance caused by the material energy. And so we want to bombard this material world consciousness of the conditioned souls with these books or this knowledge. He said, distribute millions of books. And we've done that. But we're not done yet. There's still a large part of people who still need to hear this message, who are eager for this message, especially in today's time. The world's undergoing a very critical time. There's a lot of tension, and war can break out at any time, and there's a lot of, on many levels, economic, political, social, ecclesiastical, moral, and there's so many health level, and so many problems now. It's coming full force. And people who are actually looking for something better are struggling. They want some way to get out of this. So therefore, it's our responsibility to somehow be there for them. And distributing books is, we are giving them what they are looking for. They're looking for happiness, they're looking for some success in life, and ultimately they're looking for God. As Prabhupada used to say, everyone's looking for Krishna, some know it and some don't. And he made the description by saying, Krishna represents the epitome of happiness, that happiness that is not beyond any other form of happiness. So in that analogy, the point is that everyone is looking for Krishna. And so to distribute books, Srila Prabhupada made that a really strong emphasis. And he would sit with his disciples, and he would read, and he would instruct, and he would talk about the importance of these books. Not in a way that would make him sound like he's a great author, but saying that this knowledge cannot be found anywhere. It's coming from the spiritual realm. It's, as we mentioned, it's a power shot. It means it's not man-made. And Prabhupada, in 1977, he wrote a letter to the German Yatra, the German book distributors at that time. And he said, and he was encouraging them in their book distribution. He was congratulating for what their service they had done. And then he went on to explain that these books are so powerful that if someone sees a book, what to speak of touching a book or reading a book, if they just see the book, they get benefit. And if they see it and give it to someone else and that person touches it, they get benefit. What is that benefit? In other words, they're moving into the spiritual mercy. In other words, they open themselves up for further mercy. And so, yeah, Prabhupada's books, he was talking to Shrutikirti Prabhu one time. Shrutikirti likes to narrate this particular. And Prabhupada was talking about nectar of devotion. And he was looking at the pages, turning it, and he would look at Shrutikirti and he said, if you read just one page, you can be fully Krishna conscious. Just one page. Then he was quiet for a few seconds. No, he said, actually, just one paragraph. You can be fully Krishna conscious. No, actually, just one sentence. Shrutikirti's he's kind of like stunned. He doesn't know what to think. It's the way he's. And then Prabhupada finalized it by saying, just one word. He says, each word, Prabhupada was walking with one professor, Professor Durkheim. He was also from Germany. Prabhupada liked him a lot, and he was interested in the philosophy. So Prabhupada's talking about Srimad Bhagavatam. And he's saying, yes, we have the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It has 18,000 verses. And Prabhupada went on to say, and each verse takes 1 month to understand. And then he looked at the devotees. He said, how long is that? Devotee said, one devotee was good. He said, that's 1,500 years, Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, you have enough to read. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in Dhaka, he spoke on the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam for 3 months without covering the same points each day. Just one verse. So this knowledge is so deep and so, what we say, transcendental. It means it has nothing to do with anything in this material world. But it immediately inspires one towards devotional service. And if one reads and seriously takes the knowledge and applies it in their life, then their whole life becomes perfect. So that's our duty, is to somehow. And Lord Chaitanya says, go everywhere. He's telling Lord Nityananda, don't make any restrictions. Anyone and everyone. Papi tapi jata chila harinama udarila, jatar shakshi jagai madai. They went to Jagais, the Madais. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati says, the Jagais and Madais are still here today. And therefore there's a lot of them. And he explains that pastime of saving or rescuing Jagai and Madai from their sinful activity and giving them the association of the Vaishnavas is something that's going on today. Jagai and Madais are being saved because the world is full of ignorance, and the ignorance is only perpetuating itself more and more. So Prabhupada used to say, my books is the only solution to the problems of the world. Some people say, Prabhupada said so many things. He wrote letters. He gave morning walk conversations. He gave room conversations. He gave lectures on different subjects. But after everything, he said, but everything that I want to tell you, without considering anything else, everything is in my books. He said, read my books. If you read my books, I'm there. He says, these books are my ecstasies in devotional service. They're non-different. I remember, I don't know if I should, I'll tell it anyway. Prabhupada kept saying, when devotees asked Prabhupada one time, how will we be able to associate with you once you leave? And Prabhupada said, I'm in my books, just read my books. So I had heard that, and then one day I was sitting in my room, and I was reading Bhagavatam. I was reading for a long time. And at one point, I wasn't reading anymore. I was hearing Prabhupada's voice. I was hearing Prabhupada's voice coming off the words as I was reading the words from the page. I was like listening to a recording. Jai Shri Sri Radha Gokulananda Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Gaurnitai Ki Jai. So Prabhupada said, yeah, I'm in my books. So Prabhupada, when I was hearing that, I was like listening to a recording of Prabhupada speaking. I wasn't reading anymore. And it went on, and then it stopped. And that only happened to me once. But I think Prabhupada wanted to tell me, yeah, you don't think I'm in my books? I'm there. Non-different. So that's not some nice, fancy analogy or phrase or some euphemism. It's that Prabhupada is non-different than these words that he's giving us. And what is he giving us? He's giving us. One devotee said to Prabhupada, well, what is the essence of your books? What you write so much. What is the conclusion? What do we have? He said, the essence is to get everyone to chant Hare Krishna. That's one answer he gave. Of course, not everyone. The answer is to ultimately develop love for Krishna. But Prabhupada said, all of my purports or all of my explanations on the philosophy is to get you to chant Hare Krishna. Not only to get you, but to continue to understand that the essence of this knowledge is the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His name, fame, form, pastimes, qualities, activities. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made it in such a way that the chanting of the holy name awakens all of the, qualities, forms, pastimes, characteristics of the Lord. As we go chanting, then we actually can go deeper and deeper into understanding more of Krishna's pastimes, His qualities, His activities. And when you're out there distributing books, if you have that understanding or experience, then when you distribute books, you can really distribute books. Because when you really experience or have the understanding what is the value of this knowledge, that gives you more potency in your distribution. Because there's Gyan and Vigyan. It's like Prabhupada sometimes criticized the book distributors. This was in 1976 in Mayapur. Prabhupada was talking about distributing his books. And then he said, and you're out there distributing my books, but you don't read. And if someone says, what's in these books? What is the knowledge? Well, and then you say, well, our teacher, he writes and we sell. That's all. Prabhupada said, not like that. Read them, understand them, study them, and be able to respond to anyone's questions regarding these books. That's Prabhupada wanted each one of us to have a working knowledge of this knowledge that he gave us, not only for our own edification, but for giving this knowledge to others. So this knowledge is, when we say, as Krishna says this knowledge is the king of knowledge. That means there's nothing greater than this knowledge. It's non-different than devotional service. It is the realization of the activities of the great souls in their relationship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it's the glorification of Krishna in his different features, especially his pastimes in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So distributable. And there's so many examples of how devotees have sacrificed everything for book distribution. I remember, would you like to hear some stories of book distribution? Some of them are really quite amazing. I think Badri Narayan Maharaj tells this particular story. One devotee was distributed, I think, in the Netherlands. And he had many titles with him. And he went into an area which was restricted. There was some security there. It was like a housing compound. And he was going to go in, but then the security saw him and was approaching him. And what he did is he ran. And the security chased him. So they're running. He's running with the books, and he's being chased. So he runs down this alley, dark alley. He comes to the end, and all there is a door. So he's thinking, I'm caught. So he opens the door, and it opens. And then he opens it, and there's a dark hallway. He doesn't know where he's going. So he goes down the dark hallway, and he's going out. Finally, he starts seeing some light up ahead. And he comes to the end, and there's a meeting on the other side. There's someone addressing a large group of people. And when he sees this book distributor coming from, he said, "Oh, we were waiting for you. Did you bring the gifts?" He said, yes. He started playing along with yeah, I brought the gifts, yeah. Okay, good. How much do we owe you? So he quoted a figure, something like 500 euros or something like that. So they wrote him out a check. And he gave him a bunch of books, and then the man was thankful. And then the boy said to him, well, what is this group? He said, this is the annual Butchers Convention. So do not discriminate in how you distribute books. Yeah, these books are really powerful. There's another story, this one happened in America. One man, he figured there was no sense to life anymore. He decided to commit suicide. So he went into a parking lot, and he had a van, and he ran his tailpipe back through the cab and started the motor on, and he's sitting there, and the gas is coming in. Now, it just happened to be some book distributor in the parking lot. So he sees this man sitting in the cab, so he runs up to him, and he tries to get him to open the window to talk, but the man won't open the window. So the book distributor puts the book on the windshield, and he leaves. So the guy gets curious. He stops, and he rolls it down, and he picks it up. He starts reading it, and then there's one chapter about happiness, how to become. It was a small little book. Of course, obviously, if you're committing suicide, you're not very happy. So he saw that book, and then he looked in the back, and then he saw there was a listing of the temples. So he decided, he read that chapter, and by reading that chapter, he actually changed his mind, and he went to find the devotees. So we can actually say these books save lives. Another story, this one's nice, and this was in Italy. The devotees would, when the trains would come in and out of the station, they would jump on this train for 5 minutes before the people would get in off, and then the new group would go on. So one girl, she got on, and she starts trying to distribute the books to some of the people coming on. So she approached one man, and he was not very nice. So he just grabbed the book, and he pushed her, and she fell. And then she got up and she left, and he just kept the book. So a few years later, the same man came down with a terminal disease. He had taken the book and he put it in his library. And one day he was thinking, I have to find some religious book, because now he's suffering. He's about to die soon. So he goes, and he just happens to pick up that same book that girl gave him. It was the Bhagavad Gita. So he picks up the book, he starts reading it and reading it and reading it. He gets really excited, and he's thinking, this is the knowledge I've been looking for. And he's so happy, he says, I want to meet these people. So he finds in the back there's an address. He goes to the temple, he knocks on the door, and guess who answers the door? The same girl he pushed. And when he saw her, he fell flat, dandavats, and then, of course, they welcomed him. So, these books have Prabhupada said, they're like time bombs. The person you may give the book to may not be the person who directly benefits from the book, but because the book is out there, someone will benefit. Someone will benefit. I was in Chicago, and one young man came into the temple. He came up to me, he said, could you take me to New Vrindavan? I said, well, who are you? Then he explained. He said, well, I heard about this community and I want to join. I said, well, how'd you find out about us? He said, well, I was sitting in my room one day and my father started getting rid of his old books. And he was going to a bookstore to sell them. And then I saw on the top there was one interesting looking book, so I got it. I picked it up and I started reading it. It was the Bhagavad Gita. I was reading it, and then I thought, this is nice. But then I couldn't figure out who's behind it, what organization. But then after some time, yes, he described it. He said, then I was out on the street one day, and one person came up to me and was the same book. And I said, oh, I want to meet you. Do you have a place? Yeah, there's a temple in Chicago. Come in. So he came to the temple. So all his father did was getting rid of his old books. But somehow he saw that. And then he actually joined and got initiated immediately. As soon as he went to New Vrindavan, he stayed there for a while, met one devotee who was in a position to give initiations, and became Krishna conscious. I'll tell you a story. I preach in jails, and this is a really interesting story. I can't tell you the country because we're not really popular in that country. One devotee somehow got a ministry within the jail, the Hindu ministry. So he came as the Hindu chaplain. So he was holding little discourses among some of the inmates there. And not too many people were coming. So then he said to the jail attendants there, "Is there anyone here who is from the Indian background?" They said, "Yeah, there's one person. He's on death row. Could you send him to our group?" "Yeah, he's got a few weeks before he gets executed." So he did. So they sent him. He came. And then they were giving discussions on Bhagavad Gita. And when he first came, he was in the mood that, I'm being cheated. I didn't do what they said I did. Now they want to kill me. And his parents would come. He would complain to them. He would complain to everyone. But after some time, when he was reading Bhagavad Gita and getting an idea, his whole idea changed. He admitted, "Yes, I did." And he starts thinking now, well, this knowledge is really wonderful. And then he started to think. When it was time for him to actually be executed, he said to the jailers, Can I go with the Bhagavad Gita? Because in my next life, I want to be a devotee. So they said, "Yeah." So they gave him the Bhagavad Gita, and he's walking him towards his execution area. And he's saying goodbye to his friends who are others inmates. He's saying, "Goodbye, I'm going to be a devotee of Krishna in my next life." And the jailers came back to us. They say, "We always have to drag these people." But he was just walking. He was saying, "Yeah, I'm going to be a devotee of Krishna in my next life." Just the power of Prabhupada's books. It completely changes people's consciousness from one side to another. They have hope. They have, they feel this knowledge is what they're looking for. So that was a nice, and there's many hundreds of stories. I'm sure many of you who distribute book have your own experiences. So this book distribution, Srila Prabhupada said, and this, I'm using a little plug here because there's another side. He said, we have 2 solid programs in our Krishna consciousness. Solid means that if you put energy, effort, time into it, it'll be successful, no question. He said, book distribution, farm communities. These 2 things, if you put time, energy, and effort, it'll bring results in these areas. And what is the results? Of course, with book distribution, people actually become purified. They can become attracted to devotional service. And when they meet devotees and they start to engage in devotional service, then, and Prabhupada said, if you make one person, just one person qualified to become a pure devotee, even if you're not a pure devotee, say you preach, and someone becomes a pure devotee that you preach to, and they go back to home or qualify to go back home, you automatically go, even if you're not. That's how merciful Lord Chaitanya is, how merciful. So anyone who distributes these books, Prabhupada said, it's my special blessings. He said, I take the dust of their feet on my head, especially if you distribute books in places where it's very difficult. Some of the countries where we were restricted at, where if you get caught, you can either go to jail or also be killed, even today. But it's opening up more now. These books are becoming more and more, what we say, always global. Another nice little story. The devotees in Chaupati, Radha Gopinath, Christmas marathon. So they're out there in full force, and they're in the train station, Shivaji train station in Mumbai. So one man, he's walking along. So one girl approaches him, and she tries to sell him a book. He says, that's okay, I'm not interested. He walks on. So he goes on for a little while, and there's another book distributor, approaches the same man. He said, no, I'm not interested, it's okay. He goes on. And then he goes on, and there's a third one, approaches the same man. He said, this must be God's arrangement. So he takes the book. So that's our mood of distribution. Don't take no. Of course, we have to be respectful, but at the same time, devotees know that we have what they're looking for. We just have to convince them to somehow or other accept the mercy. At least even if they don't know it, and if they accept it, and as Prabhupada said, even if they touch the book, they take it home, they read it, or anything, or even if their friends read it, there is great spiritual benefit like that. Okay, any questions, comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your lovely Sankirtan class, Maharaj. For the devotees that are going on the monthly Sankirtan festival today in Watford, some may be going for the first time. Have you got any advice that you could share with them?
For first-timers, see yourself as a messenger for your spiritual master. I'm out here on behalf of my spiritual master. He wants you to get this knowledge, so I have the opportunity to be his messenger. If we think that we are giving him the books, we are, but in one sense, we're simply representing Krishna, the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master. So just see yourself in that way. As far as, everyone has a certain personality. Use your personality to somehow or other speak to people in such a way that they will convince. Of course, if you talk about techniques, I think book distributors, one of them, they know that one of the things you do is when you meet a person, you hand them the book. So when they're touching, they're holding the book. It seems like there's something about that it's already there. They're feeling it. So that's just a technique that the book distributors use. But just see yourself as representing your spiritual master in Krishna. And that these people really need this knowledge. They're suffering. Prabhupada said everyone in the material world is suffering because they don't have an understanding of the goal of life. Therefore, they're trying to create false goals, and they're struggling to achieve that, and that's all they get is struggle. So try to understand. We have to be a little bit concerned about them. That yes, we care about them because we want to give them something to help them overcome their struggling in this world. So a little bit in the mood of compassion. But whatever it takes, distribute books. Some of us are more extroverted, some of us are more introverted. The introverted devotees, people have a little bit harder time relating to someone all of a sudden that they don't know. But just know that you are representing Srila Prabhupada, the spiritual master, Krishna. It's not about you. You're simply the medium, that's all.
Thank you. And just a reminder to the devotees, there is book distribution training from 10 a.m. in the Bhakti Lounge. Thanks, Maharaj.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to say anything? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for inspiring class. One of Prabhupada's disciples wanted to make some kind of a training for devotees that they train in the skills of book distribution, but Prabhupada said no, just let them be connected to Paramatma and Krishna will guide them. But we know that devotees like Vaisheshika Prabhu,
They train.
on the other side, they train them and they give them mantras and they are very efficient. So how to understand that?
Prabhupada's happy. He might say it's not necessary, but he didn't say don't do it. Prabhupada's happy. If anyone who's doing something to further book distribution, this is in line with Prabhupada's instructions. Yes, Adikarta Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class. Very nice. I would just like to congratulate you on mentioning the farm communities. I know it's Prabhupada's idea, but ISKCON is supposed to be showing people a better way of life. This modern lifestyle, most of us are living in a city, we're drinking bottled water, we're going to work, we're struggling to pay our rent. At least a lot of people, not everybody. But we need to be in nature. Nature is very healing and very soothing for the mind. And growing your own food, even if you can't weed, you can grow fruit trees. That's what I do. So I would encourage everybody to think about, Prabhupada's mission. He didn't come here just, to make living in a city better,
right,
because you chant Hare Krishna. But he came to actually change the whole society, because every single problem the modern society has is rooted in this modern industrial age lifestyle. Our health, our family units, everything, we need to show people cow protection. We need to actually believe in it. We need to support it. We need to milk cows. We need to get out there and use cow dung to grow food. This is what Prabhupada wanted. So I just beseech everybody to think about this and to think of ways that we can somehow get involved. If you have a lot of money, buy a big farm somewhere. We need big farms where lots of people can go and live, and just show people that, this is the right way to live.
It is the way we live now is not living. It's just dying, that's all it is. Yeah. I was talking about this, and I was talking about cows. And I was with a group of people this was in America, most of them were all from India. And one man said, I used to live in a village, we had a cow. And the cow was practically part of our family. And when someone in the family would get sick, we would go over to the cow and whisper in her ear that this person is sick with this. And the cow would go to the field, find that herb, and then eat it, and then they would milk that cow and give that milk, and that would be the cure. And then I said that again in another venue, and another person said, well, it's not exactly like that, Maharaj. You don't have to tell the cow. She knows. She knows. Cows are very perceptive, and when you work closely with cows, they really can connect with you. They can pick up on and they're very kind by nature. If you serve them, take care of them, then they'll take care of you beyond your imagination. So now we have an opportunity to stabilize our Krishna consciousness, and this is how we do it, through these farm communities. The book distributors will be out there distributing books in the cities, preaching, and we bring people to the farms and make them Krishna conscious. Prabhupada said they'll be coming to our farms in hundreds, and he said we'll engage them in practical activity, and after they get engaged in activity, we'll teach them Krishna consciousness. This is the future. This is the unfinished business of Srila Prabhupada's mission. He said, build these farm communities, develop Varnashram Dharma, Grow your own food. He said, the food you grow on your own land is 100 times more nutritious than what you buy in the stores. People are getting sick from eating today. Literally sick from eating. This is the statistics now. The food is so bad. And that's a whole discussion. But what Adikarta Prabhu is saying is really, really important. Because if we don't move away from this dependence on this materialistic civilization, we might find ourselves in a very difficult situation where we cannot maintain what we have already developed. As Prabhupada said, he said it in 73, he said in 50 years this whole society will collapse. He said the whole Western world will it's collapsing now. We're seeing that. But that's not the reason to do it. It's just natural to live in that in the environment. Closer to nature, closer to God, and closer to each other. That's the important thing. Yes.
I was walking around the grounds the other day, and I met some Indian gentlemen. They work in the daytime, they're like IT people, and they come here every evening for 2 or 3 hours, and they do farm work. And they say, they're growing, they have, I don't know how many of you have been to where they're growing food, but there's a whole big area, not just where the woofers are, if you know what woofers are, not back there. There's another whole area where they're growing, it's like about 5 acres or something. It's all full of pumpkins and lettuce, and it's all these volunteers. There's no Westerners, it's all Indians, and with all due respect. So they really get it, they understand how important this is to grow your own food. And, they're doing a great service because they don't get paid or anything. They're just doing it in their spare time. And they're growing so much food.
Yeah. You go to work, you make some money, you struggle, and then you go to the store, you buy some food that's not so good. Why not just grow your own food and avoid all that in between? You make money to buy food, but just grow your own food. You don't have to work for a secular society.
One last thing, sorry. I don't want to hog the mic.
This is my topic too, you know that. This is what I talk about all the time.
I'm from London. I don't want to talk about myself too much, but I'm from London. But, about after being a devotee for about 20 years, I realized that ISKCON will never be successful until we have farm communities. I think Shiva Maharaj realizes, well, he probably already knew, but, he has that amazing new Brajadam. Everybody should go there. But, when I see nature, it really helps you understand Krishna better. When you see the beauty of how nature actually works. Like, I have orange trees, and the aroma of the orange blossom is so wonderful. And then you get the little bud, and each type of fruit has its own particular beautiful design. And then this beautiful little fruit appears, and then it gets ripe. And you can't pull it off the tree until it's ripe. It doesn't all get ripe at the same time. It's all Krishna's arrangement. The ripe ones come off easily, because if it all came up at the same time, you wouldn't be able to eat it all at once. So it's all magic.
Yeah.
But you have to see nature in action. It's just incredible. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. That's really important to hear this. Because we actually are a product of nature, not this Western technological society, which is destroying people fast. Yes.
It's just to give information, we've had it on our WhatsApp. There's a special day on the farm tomorrow to show people round and to get involved and see the great
I think there's a bullock cart.
The whole thing.
9 to 12 o'clock.
So it's a special day devoted to that, actually. Yeah.
Good. Here's a chance to get a little bit more of an experience and a little taste of that type of culture, lifestyle. So thank you very much. And all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to the book distributors, All glories to Sri Sri Radha Gokulananda, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Gaur Nitai. Hare Krishna.